All right, hey, what's up, guys? Coach Mac, Play Fast Football. All right, today I'm going to do a video on tempo practice plans and look mostly at offense and some things I think you need to be doing, but then I'll take a look at it from the defensive side a little bit too to figure out how you need to work against tempo and build that into your practice plan. Make sure you're checking out some of our partners, GameStrat, sideline replay company we use. I've used them at the previous school I was at as a head coach, and now at Bishop Kenny we use GameStrat. If you're looking for highly reliable, highly affordable, great customer service, check out GameStrat. Dome Hats, the headwear company we use at Bishop Kenny. I use them at every school that I've been at. I use them with Play Fast Football as well. I had former football players, guys that played at the University of Florida. They understand what we go through. They want to help coaches. Completely customizable. Stock hats suck. Check out Dome Hats. Baker Sporting Goods. It's a company that we use for our coaches' gear, sideline gear, practice gear. Our uniforms are distributed from them. We do spirit packs and things like that through them, fan stores, teacher stores. It's kind of a one-stop shop for everything we need. Check out Baker Sporting Goods, Just Play Football, which is the playbook software we use. We use it for our playbooks, but then we also use it for our meetings. We use their presentation mode in our meetings, and we use it with our game plan meetings and our team meetings. I use it on my Patreon site. It's the best play drawing tool on the market, in my opinion. So make sure you check out Just Play. And then DifferenceUSA, the ultimate striking machine. Get thousands of reps. You don't need a partner. They set up right on the racks in your weight room. All right, so it's easy to set them up in your weight room. You don't need to teach somebody how to hold a dummy, provide resistance. It's you and the DifferenceUSA machine. You are working on striking violently, which you have to practice striking violently. All right, so if you're a tempo offensive team, what you're going to have to figure out throughout the course of your practice plan is how can you practice your tempo against scout looks. So when you're trying to line up really fast and get your kids to understand what the procedure is to get lined up and to get set and to get signals and play calls, but you also need certain looks from the scout team, you're going to have to figure out a way to build that in. One of the ways you can build that in, and it's one of the periods offensively that we use, and we do it with our JV and our varsity, so we use our JV defensive players as well as some of our varsity defensive or our backup defensive players, is the offensive coach is going to set up 3 scout cards. All right, so he's going to set up 3 sets of scout cards, and you're going to have 3 defenses that are lined up, and they're going to line up to the scout card that they have drawn up, which all of them can be different scout cards if you're working against different looks, right? So now you've got the offense ready to run a play against the first scout look. The second and third scout look are already getting lined up off the card. They know the formation that they're going to see. They know the coverage that they're going to play or the blitz that they're going to run. So that now, after the first play, the offense can then move up to the next ball. So as they're running to the ball, it's just like the end of a football play in a game. They're running to the next ball. They're getting the signal. They're getting set. They're trying to line up and play with tempo. They're trying to play with pace, right? So they're trying to get set as quickly as possible and run a play versus the next look, and then you're going to repeat it and do the same thing versus a third look. So while they're running the second play, now the first scout group has a chance to look at the next card, okay? And then I'll tell you the way we do it. We do 1s and 2s the same way, so the 1s go through and then the 2s go through. So as the 1s start to run a play against the second group, the 2s are running a play back here. All right, so now the 1s go through, the 2s go through, the scout group stays in the same card twice. Now, if I'm running this scout group, what I need to do is after the 2s go through, I need to get these guys together and show them the next card so that they can be ready to line up when the 1s come again. So now when the 1s come again, they may start from the sideline with a P and 10 call, and then the next 2 plays they're going to work on playing with tempo as fast as they can possibly play. So this is one of the periods that we do to try and work on tempo so that the scout group can get lined up. Because you got to remember, if you're using scout cards in a tempo offense, it's going to take time to show the defense the scout card. So getting the offense lined up, getting them set, getting ready to run the play, it's very hard to do when you have to show the defense a scout card for certain looks. So if you do it this way, you can always get the defense. Now again, we have to use JV players when we do this. We don't have enough varsity bodies to make 3 groups. So it's something that gives our JV guys a chance. They're playing a different defense. It's not our defense. They're playing a scout look. But we're still asking them to play. We're asking them to play hard. We're asking them to get reps against varsity players. So it's good for the JV guys as well. And now you have a chance to get the scout cards set. So these two groups are already setting the looks before the first play's run, so that when they get to them, they're already lined up ready to go, and they're lined up ready to go. And then you repeat the same card twice in a row, so the defense can be lined up when the twos go. And then when the ones come back, maybe it's a P and 10 call. While the twos are going, I have a chance to get the next card ready. They have a chance to get the next card ready when the twos pass through them. They have a chance to get the next card ready when the twos pass through them. Now when the ones reload, you can, however you're doing it, if it's a P and 10 into 2 tempo plays, now you've got the scout group already set up, already ready to go. Because if you need scout cards to get the defense lined up, all right, and you need to show them where they need to be, certain blitzes or movements or how the other team's going to play things off a scout card, that's going to take time to do. So when you do it in this setting, the time that it takes to show these guys is kind of downtime where there's not a group there running a play. So now after the two groups go through, I can reload the next card with this group so that when the ones go, they're ready to go. They'll reload when they're done the second card. They'll reload the second card. So now when the ones get back through, they run their play here, get up to the ball, get set, run their play, and the defense is already set. So that's one of the ways, all right, that you can, build in. We do it early in the week, all right? It's a period that we do on offense all the time, all right? And we know that on the practice plan, the JV has the service, so we know what we're doing. It's built in. And this is a way that you can get different looks for the quarterback, all right? And at the same time that you're getting those different looks, you're playing with tempo versus scout looks, so you're getting the best of both worlds. And then a lot of times what we might do is if there's RPOs or rotations built in, we might put pennies on 3 different players, so that week maybe it's these two and the Sam, right? So now these guys have different color pennies, all right? And then these 3 have different color pennies. All right, so it might be, if it's a rotational deal with the safeties or it's where they set the Sam or whatever the offensive coach wants it to be, we put 3 different color pennies on guys that he wants the quarterback to be able to, all right, recognize, whether it's in the RPO game or in the run game or in the access throw game. He's putting pennies on guys to make sure that they understand, all right, these are the guys that we're looking at. All right, these are the 3 players in the split field look. This is the overhang traditionally. But then when they get into a different look, these are the players. When they get into a different look, these are the players. So it also builds in a way that you can put different pennies, different colored jerseys, bonnets, whatever you use for your scout team. You can put them on the guys that the quarterback needs to recognize. We do the same thing on defense. If we're playing some formations where we need to know certain personnel in the game, I'll put a different bonnet or penny on the tight end so that we can see a 3-man surface, because our jerseys in practice don't have numbers on them. So if you just get 3 red jerseys next to each other, sometimes it's hard to find the 3-man surface. You don't know where the tight end is. In the scout group, sometimes the tight ends change. So it's the same thing on offense. If you've got rotational secondary players or a Sam or an overhang that sets himself to the field that you want to find, all right, you can put pennies and bonnets on those guys to make it a little bit easier, right? Then there's going to be a time in the practice where you are going to want to work against the group, and I would call this, all right, kind of a chaos period. Now there's not going to be scout cards, all right? Now the offense is going to be able to line up in whatever they're lining up, and they're going to play with tempo as fast as they can possibly play, all right? And maybe we're playing our base defense, okay? And maybe we're playing our base defense, but the offensive coordinator and the offense guy, they don't know what the looks are on defense, all right? So, maybe for us, if it's our base deal, okay, maybe for us we're playing it from our 3 high deal, or if they need a specific 2 high look, we'll give them a 2 high look. But the bottom line is, if you're a tempo team and you're playing up tempo and ripping plays, your guys are going to have to be able to run tracks, and the quarterback's going to have to be able to take access throws and read RPOs with defenses that may not be lined up and they may not be set. Okay, so one of these periods where it's a chaos period, you are working specifically on, hey, look guys, we're running our base stuff. I don't know what you're going to see from the defense. We've got to sort this out, because now we can play up-tempo. We can get lined up. We're humming our defensive guys about getting lined up, all right? And we're just making calls against calls, right? So it might not be game plan specific. It may be your base package, and it's things that you carry every week, and it's your calls against our calls, and it's teaching both sides of the ball, because now, you might get that look, okay? You might get, if you're a tempo team and you're ripping a tempo really well, Well, maybe you're getting used to, we got to play these, all right, these even front structures, all right? And when we go to play these even front structures, this is the front we think we're going to see. All right, so this is the front we think we're going to see, and we think we're going to see the three techniques set a certain way. Well, if you're ripping the tempo on them and they don't get lined up, or maybe their field boundary, well, maybe the front is going to be set like that. Right? So maybe the front is going to be set like that, and now you've got to block that play to the front with the three technique on the other side. Right? Because in a tempo world, there's going to be times where you have to block things based on tracks, where you are, and kind of sort it out on the fly, because if you're really good at tempo, what's going to happen is there's going to be times where the defense isn't lined up. All right? There's going to be times where the picture isn't exactly what you thought the picture was going to be, because the defense can't get themselves lined up. All right? And maybe the Sam got stuck to the boundary. You played really quick and you got stuck, and you had to rotate into some type of 3D, and maybe the picture isn't exactly what you want. That's how you have to teach your offense to play tempo football. And one of the only ways to do that is to have this kind of chaos period where you know for 10 minutes it's not scripted, right? The first period is scripting exact looks that you want to see to exact formations that you think you're going to get, while still trying to play at a very fast pace, while still trying to play with tempo. The second period is you understanding as a tempo team, you're going to have to play in this chaos world where the other team might not be lined up correctly. They may not be lined up where you think. They may not give you what you think. All right, so if you've got like stand-up screens and you say, all right, when we play in 3x1, we're going to kind of get, we think we're going to get this look here, all right, and maybe they're going to poach the backside, all right, from over here. Maybe they're going to poach the backside. So now when you get this look, we're throwing stand-up. We need to be out to the corner, out to the Sam, whatever it may be. Well, then you do it in the tempo world, and they can't get lined up, and all of a sudden, it's a corner here with two guys walk down. And now these guys have to sort it out and say, wait a minute, now the two most dangerous are this player and that player, right, if we're going to throw the stand-up. So the chaos period is where you're running your base plays. It's not necessarily game plan specific. It's things that you carry every week, and you're running them against whatever the defense lines up in. All right, if the defense wanted to line up and give you heavy pressure looks, all right, and they wanted to give you heavy boxes or heavy pressure looks where they're playing zero coverage and they're getting ready, all right, to possibly deal some people, all right, however they want to do it. Now what you have to understand is you've got to be in a world where, well, if that's the look we're going to see and we're ripping the tempo, we've got to be able to block that look, all right? We've got to be able to block that specific look, okay, to where we know, all right, it would help if there's 11 and not 12 on the field, where we know versus that particular look, if we get pressure, how are we going to handle it, right? So you've got your first period where you've got 3 scout teams set up, they're servicing each other, okay, and then you've got, you can really push the tempo. Now you go into like a chaos period where you're pushing the tempo best on best, okay, and you're working and saying, look, this isn't going to be exactly game plan specific. This is our base offense working against whatever the defense lines up in, because if we're in tempo, we may see some fronts that don't look familiar. We may see some coverage alignments that don't look familiar. We're throwing stand-up screens or tempo plays. We got to get it blocked. We got to get it sorted out, right? And then you're probably going to want to have something that is a more specific game plan period, all right? And now when you have that game plan period, this is going to work at a little bit of a slower pace, all right? And the reason it's going to work at a slower pace is you're going to want to see the exact alignments that you think you're going to get by formation. So now you're working on your game plan calls, all right? And you think that you're going to get the 3 techniques set a certain way, right? And you think that to that side you're going to get a 6-man box with some type of maybe lock coverage over here, all right? Or maybe it's clamp coverage, hard cover 2 into the boundary, right? You're going to get your normal coverage out here to the field. Well, if those are game plan specific looks that you need to see, that's going to be a period where we're working at a slower pace. We can't obviously work at that same tempo all the time and get the exact looks we want. So if I need to see that picture, I need to make sure that I present that picture on a scout card to the defensive players. That's going to take time for them to look at. That's going to take time for them to see the scout card and line up, right? So when we are doing that, we need to make sure that it is at a pace that is a little bit slower, And now we know, and coaches know, and everybody knows that when we're in this mode, it's not going to be get line up and get set and run the play as fast as you can. We can't get the defense ready in time to do that. The first period where we set 3 defenses up the way we want them, that's where we can rip the tempo. The second period where it's chaos, that's where we can rip the tempo. There's going to be times where you have to play at a little bit slower pace just because the game plan adjustments, all right, off of what the defense is going to do and what you want to run off of those looks. You can't set the look up without showing kids a scout card, right? So, you know, defensively for us, one of the things we have to do when we're playing tempo teams is similar to the first scenario that I drew up, all right? We'll have an offense on one side, all right, and that, you know, the offense on the one side will have a scout card with a play that they're getting ready to run, and then we'll have another offense on this side, all right, and they've got a scout card that, all right, they're ready to run. So maybe, you know, this is 1 back stuff, this is 3 back stuff, but what we're doing now defensively, if we want to practice against tempo, is the defense lines up and gets a call on this side, all right, and they play whatever the call is on this side. All right, while they're doing that, the offense over here is they already have their scout card. They already know the play they're going to run. As soon as this play is over, the defense now has to sprint down to the bottom, and they've got to get a call. So if I'm standing somewhere and signaling in calls, they've got to get a call while sprinting down to the bottom, all right, and then on the very next snap, they've got to line up, all right, they've got to line up to whatever they see coming, all right, from the offense that's down at the bottom. This offense up top is going to get another scout card. So this offense up top is going to turn around and get a scout card to where they're going to have another play. So now when we turn around and go back, that offense already has a scout card in a play that they are, sorry. All right, so the first play, if it was 3-by-1, should have had it back in it, moving pretty fast with the markers. I know that there needs to be 11 people on the field. I know that's going to be a comment in the video. So now when this group comes back, now they get to see another formation. They got to get the call, get lined up, and play the call. That's the only way that we can play with scout cards and defend tempo, right? We call it a ping pong drill, but that's the only way you can defend tempo with scout cards. If you need to see certain formations and looks, certain motions, certain personnel, and you have to scout card it, if you have to card it up, it's hard to play fast in one group, so we've got to do it in 2 group settings so that the scout people, all right, are constantly getting another look so that every time we come down to play the next set, the scout group already has a formation and a play ready to go, because that's the only way you can defend the tempo, right? Now, the same thing within what we do on defense, all right, when we're going in what we would consider a blitz period, a lot of times if we go in a blitz period, it's best on best, and it's our stuff versus our stuff. And the reason we do that is if you're going to run a blitz period against a scout group, you've got to have every single blitz diagrammed, and every card has to be diagrammed to that blitz with how you think they would block it or run the play against that blitz, right? Otherwise, if you draw up scout cards of what the other team runs, and you draw them up to your tight front, your over front, your mid front, different coverages, now you got to draw them up again, and you got to have a different set ready for the blitz period, which if that's what you want to do, then that's what you need to do, right? But if we want this to be, and again, I like to use this term all the time in practice, if we want this to be kind of chaotic, where we're pressuring and we don't know what we're lining up to, because that's what a game is, right? When you pressure, I don't know what they're running. Yeah, we have film and tendencies and scout cards and all things, but I like this blitz period to be a little bit more chaotic, where our offense can do whatever they want. They can line up in whatever they want and make calls, all right? And I need our guys to see what the formation is. We need to make sure the blitz path is correct, make sure the coverage components on the back end are correct, all right, so that we can understand what we should be doing in that pressure, all right? And when you don't know, it's just like a game. I don't know what I'm trying to defend because the offense is calling the play, right? So I don't have this blitz diagram to this set, and yes, that should be a great blitz versus that play. Tendencies help you a bunch, and personnel groups help you a bunch, but you're going to have some pressures diagrammed to plays that you haven't seen that pressure against. The only way to work on that is you've got to be able to see it in that type of setting. So I don't know what the formation is. I don't know what the personnel group is. All right, I call the pressure. We've got to be able to run it, okay, and then we've got to be able to fix it on film or after practice or whatever we're doing to understand, hey, if that's the set, we're playing this coverage, it needs to be like this or whatever we're doing. That's the only way for us when we start to blitz and move. That period, all right, so again, that's going to be more of a chaotic period for us, not from a tempo standpoint. It's going to be a chaotic period from the standpoint of we're pressuring versus we have no idea what we're going to see. I'm looking at paths, I'm looking at coverages, I'm looking at alignments, all right? It's not necessarily always, hey, run these pressures to beat our offense, all right? There's times during the week where you need to see things that are busted, you need to see things that are broken, and you need to be able to fix them during the week, so hopefully they don't happen on Friday, right? So we've got on defense, it's the same thing. If I need to defend tempo, I've got to have multiple scout groups going. That's the only way I can get tempo. If I want to design a blitz period, okay, where we need to see certain pressures, and I want to see them against I don't know what's coming, so our kids can handle it on the fly and get lined up if we call that pressure in a game, that's the period that you need to have scripted. Now, if we have certain things that we need to defend, all right, so if we're playing a team that, for whatever reason, is running some three-back stuff, okay, well, this period needs to be a full scout card period, and it's going to be done at a slower pace because the offense has to get the scout cards. The scout cards have to be drawn up exactly to how we would play that set so that you give the scout kids a chance, all right? You give the scout kids a chance to block something. So you got to draw it up exactly the way you think you might play it so that you give the scout cards and the scout guys a chance to block that front or whatever it may be, right? So you got to understand that's going to be done at a slower pace, right? So on offense and defense, in the tempo world, you have to understand when and where you can practice tempo, when and where you can defend tempo, and when and where you need to slow down and have game plan specific deals, right? So it'd be nice to set up, and when you talk to tempo people, especially at clinics, it's like, hey, everything we do in practice is like this all the time. And I think that's great, but I don't think it's necessarily true because it's almost impossible to play and practice at that pace when you're trying to get certain scout card looks that you need. So what you need to do is you need to build that pace in, but then there also needs to be a time during practice where it's not that pace. It's scout cards. You're showing specific looks. You know it's going to take time to hold a scout card up to 11 players behind you and go, hey, all right, the end's here, the mic's here, here's the wheel, you're clamped over here, your quarter's over there. All right, you're on this side, you've got a spill, but on this side, this end's a box player. If you want to see those looks, you have to show a scout card. That's going to slow things down. So as a coach, you control all those periods. You control all those tempos. So you make sure you understand in the practice plan and your coaches understand or whoever's running the scout group, hey, this is 100 miles an hour, 3 scout cards. You get one, you get one, you get one, set them up, repeat that card twice, reload the new card. That's going to be a tempo period we're going to try and move. All right? If it's best on best in a blitz period, hey, guys, they're going to line up and call plays. We're going to line up and call pressures. It's got to move. If it's a scout period where it's, hey, guys, we have game plan specific stuff, runs that we want to the 3 technique, or how we have to block this run when the 3's set here, and how we would block it when the 3's set there. That's going to take time for you to set up where the 3 technique is or where the Sam backer to the field is. Those things need to be done at a slower pace. And then what helps is when everybody understands that, coaches start to get comfortable with, hey, this period, we got to be pushing the tempo. But in this next period, we got to make sure that the defense or the offense is lined up where we need them because this is a slower pace period, scout period, right? So it's all about practice plans. It's all about understanding how you change your practice plan up, scout cards, having the scout cards drawn right. Do you need JV to service? How many groups do you need to service? That's all part of the deal when you are coaching, when you are a coordinator. You got to make sure you understand how to do all those things in a game plan and you're not just throwing stuff at the wall and hoping something sticks. All right, so I hope this helps you guys out a little bit with practicing tempo on offense and defense and different ways that you can do it, when you use tempo, when you need to back down and do some game plan specific stuff that's slower. All right, if you guys play this week, good luck to you. I hope you're off to a good start. Hope everybody's healthy. Hope the weather's good where you're at. Remember, hit that subscribe button, become a subscriber, turn your notifications on. You'll know every time we do a video like this or every time I go on YouTube Live. I was on YouTube Live last night. Thumbs up, thumbs down if you like the content. If you don't like the content, I appreciate you watching. It's your opinion. All right, it doesn't always have to be a thumbs up. It can be a thumbs down. That's what social media and YouTube platforms are for. You don't have to agree with the video. That's your prerogative. Leave a message or a comment. I respond to every message or comment that I see on my end. If it's a question or something about a video that I can do, I will try to do that. All right, so if you want to see some video clips of us playing things or some clinic clips from Zoom clinics that I did or clinics that I've done with other coaches or the live clinic we did 2 years ago, Patreon, www.patreon.com/Coach Mac. That's where you can go to see us, clips of us playing stuff, clips of us running offensive stuff 2 years ago when I was calling an offense, clinics, different, maybe some playbook deals where I am actually showing you things drawn up in our Just Play software. So if you're looking for that, that's on the Patreon side. If you enjoy these quicker YouTube videos on a whiteboard, then YouTube's the place to be. Subscribe, click your notifications, turn them on, thumbs up, thumbs down, messages. Remember, you won't play well until you play fast. Appreciate you guys. See you next time.